Hello. Hello. And welcome back to How to Hen. Today I'm going to be talking about something that is on everyone's mind right now, every bride's mind, every bridesmaid, maid of honour, hen organiser's mind. And that is how to throw a really great virtual hen / bachelorette party, because the real one has been postponed or cancelled because of COVID-19. Now it sucks that your bride can't maybe get away for the weekend that you had planned, but that doesn't mean that she can't have any celebration at all. Now, yes, it's easy enough to just host a Zoom chat with some of your closest friends, but if you don't want it to fall flat as a hen party, I would follow along with this guide. If you don't want to watch the video, you can go to the link in the description where you will find everything I'm about to say in blog format with a couple of like helpful links and things thrown in as well. If you feel like you don't really need advice on what to do and what not to do, and you just need some help on games, then please go to www.howtohen.com and click on the social distancing bride. In there you will find lots of games and activities that you could do either over Zoom or over just a group chat that would make a great virtual hen party game. But if you'd like to be talked through it a little bit and things that you should and shouldn't do and things that you need to consider for it to be successful and for it to not suck, then please continue to watch. Okay, so we're going to break it down into who, what, when, no, who, when, how, hell, who, when, how. Okay, so we're going to break it down into who, when, how, and what. So let's start with who. Now you might already have a guest list, especially if you already had an event planned. You might have a bunch of people who were already going to go. The best advice I can give is that maybe it won't work to have all of those people come to the virtual event. I'll tell you why. People have different schedules and different lives, all of which they probably would have put on hold to come to the physical event. But for a virtual event, people have things going on around them. You might have people attending who are parents to young kids. And you might have people who are like young single party animals. You may also have retirement age family members who like to have an early night. I'm only gonna have one glass of wine because otherwise I'll be asleep before 9 o'clock. Or you might have people who are shift workers who are still having to go to work and don't have the time off, etc. When you have a group of people who all have different lifestyles and you try and get them to all meet together in a virtual space, what can sometimes happen is that the group is taken over by a couple of people who really know each other well and are big personalities and have lots of time to really engage, and everyone else gets sort of pushed on the wayside. At Hen Weekend in general, you will have people from different places. So you might have school friends, uni friends, work friends, family. All of those people are difficult to bring together as it is, but at a physical event they can mingle, they can talk one-on-one to each other, they can get to know each other outside of the big group setting. For a virtual event, particularly if you're on Zoom, it's hard to do that because you can't just splinter off into your little groups and talk individually to people. It's kind of all or nothing. So what I'd recommend is, because it's pretty much a free event for the most part, I would have multiple if you can. If you can get the school friends all together for one, and the work colleagues all together for another, and the family all together for one. Break it up however you think fits. If there are a certain group of people who would rather do a sort of upscale mid-afternoon affair, which is quite sweet and nicely put together and sophisticated and still gives people plenty of time to go and put the kids to bed or get up early in the morning if they want to. And then another one that is later on at night, lots of drinking games, lots of rude stuff for that crowd of people. It works okay on a hen weekend in person, but virtually, if you've got really separate groups of people, have separate events. I'm sure your bride will be thrilled to be able to celebrate more than once with her favourite people and really feel like she's had a chance to talk to them and that they've all enjoyed it, rather than just sort of sat by the wayside while the big personalities took over. So having separate events to keep the peace and to avoid sort of awkward silences and people feeling left out and disconnected is solution one to this. Solution two is, okay, you have everyone in one big event, you just want to have one and everyone says they're keen and they want to take part. What you need to do in that situation is make sure that you have plenty of icebreakers and getting to know you stuff. You can't dive straight into the hen party shenanigans without people feeling like they've even been introduced to each other. Because Zoom can lend itself to awkward silences where people talk over each other. Oh, I know, it was so funny when you... Oh no, you go. Oh no, I was just saying that it's. Oh no, it was this one time where you. But you, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. You go. So here are some examples of the kind of stuff that you want to be doing. Firstly, introductions. It sounds really simple, but sometimes if you're the organizer and you know everyone and the bride knows everyone, it can be very easy to forget that they don't know each other. Obviously, you don't need to do this if you know that everyone knows each other, but for the sake of breaking the ice, get everyone to say who they are, where they're from, how they know the bride, and that already gives people a bit of background. Then you can do some icebreakery stuff like 2 truths and a lie. 2 truths and a lie is a classic. You say 3 things about yourself, 2 of which are true. I have 4 cats. I run an online hen inspiration site. And 1 thing that is a lie. I am very good at maths.
What's 15% of 40?
15% of 40.
Yeah.
2 hours later.
6.
Well done.
You might not want to use that one in case people can test you out on it, in which case you'll be caught out very quickly. It's just a good way to sort of get people to loosen up and share a little bit more about themselves, and it starts to allow sort of comedy value and a little bit of personality without letting any one person take over. Who said that? This is a great game that starts to go into sort of bridal territory and makes you remember that this is about the bride. You're going to need a little bit of time in advance. Ask everyone that you have attending to submit a story or a statement that relates to them and particularly their relationship with the bride but isn't 100% obvious maybe. And then you collate all of those, and on the day of the event you give them to the bride. You can either send them to her over group chat or you can just post it in the Zoom has a chat function, so you could do that depending on how you're hosting it, but we'll get to that. The bride then has to read out each statement, story, whatever, and guess who she thinks submitted it. This is nice because it's sort of a game, but it's also just a good way for everyone to see how the bride knows everyone and share some stories and connections, and it helps people feel a little bit more bonded together and reminds everybody why you're there. And my last suggestion is this bad boy. Drunk, stoned or stupid. Now, what I'm going to be talking about is the online version, because obviously you won't be playing with the cards because you're not there together in person. But if you have never played this game before, it's either when you're playing with people you know, a great way to destroy friendships, or if you're playing with people who don't all know each other, it's a good way to force people to admit some embarrassing secrets, and it really loosens everyone up. So the aim of the game is, for this version where you're playing with people you don't know, you want to collect the cards. So each person in the group takes a turn being the judge and selecting a card. The online version of this is just flashcards on a website. The link you can find in my blog on How to Hen. The link for my blog is in the description. If you go there and you scroll down to the Drunk, Stoned or Stupid, the online version of this, you'll be able to find. So the judge selects a card and says, you know, just needs 5 more minutes. Everyone in the group then has to make their case as to why they deserve this card. They need to share stories, tell you why they are the most likely person in this event to just need 5 more minutes. And what will eventually happen is there will be some that you really don't want is going straight to hell. You know, they do get worse, trust me. Each person gets a point for each card that they win, that they manage to persuade the judge to give them. The first person to 7 points wins the game. Go round a few times. It doesn't have to be to 7 points. It could be whatever arbitrary number you want, or until you just get bored of playing or you run out of cards. It's totally up to you. But like I said, it's a great way to get people sharing some hilarious and embarrassing truths about themselves, which there's nothing bonds people faster than, you know, being mortified in front of people that you didn't really know. Alright, so that is who and what to do if you're going to have one all together. Let's move on to when. So this one pretty simply is just down to you. Once you've established who and whether you're going to have multiple events or just one big one, whether you've got different time zones or not, then you can work on, okay, well, when is the best time? When is the bride going to be available, most importantly, and when works for people who have kids, people who have work, whatever else. Quite often the best way to do this is over a poll, which you can do on Facebook Messenger, or you could make a Facebook event for the group for this purpose and get everyone to vote for whichever days they can do, and then you can just choose from there. When you're doing this, if you are having a big group with everyone attending, do try and emphasize to people not to just pick a time because everyone else is picking it. Really get them to say which time suits them better. You might not be able to do that, but you need to know. You know, if I keep using parents, but I think it is really hard if you're a parent at home and your kids are still at home to give your all to a virtual event. So if everyone decides that 6 p.m. on a Friday is great, there might be 2 or 3 parents in the group who just go, okay, but they've got their kids to put to bed at 7, so they're really not going to have an awful lot of time to be engaged and take part. So just encourage everyone to be totally honest and go from there. Moving on to how. So in my opinion, there are 2 ways that you could celebrate your virtual hen. The most obvious one is of course Zoom or another video conferencing app, but Zoom is definitely the most popular. Zoom has some great advantages. It's obviously super interactive. It feels like everyone is there because you can see everyone's faces, you can hear their reactions real time. There's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with Zoom, like you can screen share. So if you make a quiz on a PowerPoint, you can just share your screen and everyone can play along that way. You also have a whiteboard function so that you can play games on the whiteboard, which we're going to come to. So there really are a lot of pluses for hosting it over Zoom. However, there are a couple of downsides to hosting it this way. Number 1, it requires more hosting. So if you're the organizer and you have put all this together and you're in charge, you are going to have to host the evening. You can't just open a Zoom and then have it be a sort of free-for-all, because that, 1, makes it no different than any other Zoom catch-up that you would have, and 2, will definitely result in lulls, awkward silences, people talking over each other, not really knowing what happens next, and it will kill the vibe of the night. So you have more pressure in a Zoom to be on the ball, to have all of your games prepped and lined up, to be in charge and running the evening, keeping to a timetable, muting people when you have to because other people need to speak because it's their turn. It requires a lot more energy on the organizer's behalf, more hosting needed. Also, it's more pressure for the guests. Sitting in a video platform is more pressure, because sometimes people want to be able to check their phone or yawn because they're tired without looking rude. And the problem with the Zoom is that everyone's face is front and center. So if you sort of daydream off for a minute, or if you have resting bitch face, unfortunately, it doesn't look great. So people feel the pressure to sit and plaster on sometimes a fake smile just so that they look like they're having fun, because they know that everyone else can see them. So the other way to do it is by having a group chat. Now, group chat is less of a feeling of everyone being together and it being an event where everyone is there, logged in, committed. But saying that, if anyone watching is part of an active group chat, you'll know that if you're in it, it feels like you're really part of something, because if people are in it and they're active and they're engaged, the conversation flows quickly. So your disadvantage to having the group chat is that it is a bit more disjointed. Some people might miss messages. There's more scope for people to not pay attention or not commit to it because they don't have to. So that's the sort of negative side of it. However, the positives with a group chat is that there is less pressure on you as a host to be sort of on and engaging and have everything lined up all the time. You can have some stuff lined up and then have other stuff where you go, right, give me 10 minutes guys and I'll post the next one. Or you go and, you know, check your itinerary, you take a minute to go for a pee or check your notifications or fill up your drink. You can relax a little bit more as host, because people aren't sitting there waiting for you to do something and inadvertently talking over each other. They will continue to chat. If there are people who know each other, they're going to continue to chat within the group chat. And those big personalities that I was talking about taking over, it doesn't matter so much if they take over the group chat, because then you can come back in and go, right, this game is for everyone, and the people who want to take part can take part. And also, maybe there are school friends and work friends who've met before. They couldn't chat together over the Zoom because they'd be talking over everyone. But in a group chat, you can address people individually. I mean, it's not the best etiquette, but you can individually reply to people's messages so people don't feel like they're being interrupted or talked over the same. This moves us into the next advantage, is that there is less pressure on the individual people. So say, I know I keep using parents, but I feel like for parents who are at home right now, it's a big deal to be able to do these things, and it's just a really good illustration. So there's a parent who has a kid that they need to put to bed. They know it's maybe only gonna take, you know, half an hour, because, you know, their other half has taken care of most of it, but they just really, really want that bedtime story before they go to sleep. they don't have to depart from the Zoom. They can just keep their phone on them. They can go and read the story, keep an eye on what's happening, and pop into the group chat and still take part in the games, because over group chat, the games will be more like, okay, everyone has 20 minutes to send in a slow-mo video of you trying to do a handstand or whatever. Give them a time limit so that it's more flexible and people can continue to sort of do the little distracted things that they need to do while being part of the night. It's less pressure for them to sit and engage and be there entirely, which of course is what you want from people, but it's not always realistic, particularly if you're going to have people from different walks of life with different schedules. Sometimes it's easier to host it in a chat and give people the flexibility to take part, but not have to sit and be 100% engaged. Okay, what? Now, so we've talked about doing it on Zoom and doing it on group chat. If you go to howtohen.com, you can see under virtual hen parties, there are lots of virtual hen ideas. They are broken down into group chat and Zoom. So there are ideas for both. A lot of them are interchangeable, some of them aren't. So I'm just going to talk about my favourite 3 of each to give you an idea of some of the stuff that you could do. So in Zoom, you have the best platform for hosting things like Mr. and Mrs. or just quizzes of any kind in general. So that Mr. and Mrs. that maybe you had lined up for the real thing, or maybe you hadn't, get in touch with the spouse beforehand, ask the questions. I have a pre-prepared template of Mr. and Mrs. questions. If you go to the blog in the link in the description below, you'll find it. Get the answers in, ask her the questions live on Zoom in front of all of her nearest and dearest, embarrass the living daylights out of her, make her drink, whatever. But she still gets to play that game, which is a quintessential part of a Bachelorette like hen weekend. Any other quizzes too, if you're doing a quiz over PowerPoint, maybe she's got a particular thing that she loves, like RuPaul's Drag Race or Harry Potter, and you've built a quiz specifically around that, then you just put it on PowerPoint, you share your screen, and everyone can take part in answering the questions that way. You do have to depend on people being honest, but if you don't want to do that, you can use myquiz.org. If you go on there, you can build your own quizzes with multiple choice answers, and it will automatically time and track everyone's score and give you a scoreboard at the end. People will just need to be given the link and they can play along at home. Dirty Pictionary or regular Pictionary, you know, whatever, on Zoom is super easy because of the whiteboard function. So if you want to share your screen, select the whiteboard, and then what will happen is everyone takes turns to draw on the whiteboard, and people in the chat, I would mute people for this. It depends, you can try it unmuted, but the problem with Zoom is that when one person talks, it cuts off the other person, so you end up not hearing everyone's answers. So you could mute everyone and just have them put it in the chat. It's up to you. If you want to play Dirty Pictionary, I of course have cards that you can use on the blog and the link in the description below. And the way it works with that is that you can in Zoom private message people. So even though everyone is in the one chat, you can select a person to message privately and you can send them a particular thing that they have to draw and everyone else guesses. Super easy function and really good fun, and gets a lot of people laughing. So maybe you want to leave it off mute just for the howling laughter. Number 3, let your fruit hang low. So this is one of these games that you've just taken from playing it as a real game and you can do it at home. So what you do is you get a fruit of some description, a round one, like an apple or an orange, ideally nothing too heavy, a pair of tights, which is pantyhose to the Americans who are watching, and you put the fruit in 1 foot of the tights and you tie the other leg around your waist so that it is hanging between your legs like a big old dangly piece of fruit. I don't know what you're thinking about. What you then do is you use your fruit to guide some sort of ball. Now yes, this does mean that everyone has to have some kind of ball, ideally the same kind, so maybe a ping pong ball or a tennis ball. Try and find something that either everyone has or that they can get really easily. Measure out a distance on the floor. You can't make it too big because there are probably people who maybe live in apartments, don't have that much space, or have things in the way. So set out a reasonable distance and get everyone to start at the starting line. 3, 2, 1, go. And they have to guide said tennis ball, ping pong ball, with their hanging fruit across whatever that set measured distance is. And the person who does it the fastest wins. Doing it live on Zoom means that you can see everyone, get them to set it up so you know who crosses the line first because it's sort of happening in real time. Alright, now that could be done over group chat. You could just get everyone to video them doing it. You say you have 10 minutes to do this challenge, or give them it in advance. say in half an hour we're going to do this, so get all your stuff ready. And then when half an hour comes, you go, right guys, you now have 10 minutes to do this challenge, just send me a video. The disadvantage with doing it that way is that people could do multiple tries and cheat. If you're watching them, they can't cheat. Speaking of group chat game, let's talk about a couple of games that you could do just within the group chat where you don't need Zoom. Number one is wedding mood boards. So everyone presumably knows the bride and they have a pretty good idea of what the wedding is supposed to look like, but they might not know exactly, right? So this is the opportunity for people to go wild and create the bride's dream wedding. They can use a mood board app or a photo app like Layout or just a Pinterest board. Again, in the blog there are some links to some apps that help you do this, and just take loads of images and put them all together into a mood board and send it all at the same time. Don't let anyone cheat. So say at 10:30 p.m. I want your wedding mood boards. You can give them half an hour, you can give them an hour and play other stuff in between. It's up to you. Now they can go mad. Like they could put real dragons in there or unicorns, or you know, encourage people to be creative, because it's actually much easier to play this game digitally and virtually than it is in real life. Because in real life you're limited to what's in the wedding magazines, and you're cutting out and you're sticking. But digitally, the world is your oyster, my friend. Number two, tutorial time. So this one I really like and is one of my favourite games that I mention a lot on How to Hen generally. It's when you designate a specific YouTube makeup tutorial of some kind, and if the group isn't remotely makeup inclined, then it could be a different tutorial. It could be something crafty, whatever, but it has to be something that everyone will have at home, so do bear that in mind. Give them the tutorial and say you have 2 hours, 1 hour, whatever the tutorial is and however long you think it'll take, to come back and show us, take a picture of your finished product. Within the hour, I want everyone to send theirs back and I want to see how well you did. It's a bit of fun. You can make it a proper competition where, you know, you compare the original to whatever people have come up with. You can also do it as a sort of league if there are people who are anxious about this because they never apply makeup and they don't understand makeup, but there are some who really, really want to do it because they're great at makeup and they do it every day. Make it into a league, have a sort of heavyweight division and a lightweight division so that people feel like they're competing and they're taking part in something without being totally left out and like, oh, I'm obviously gonna lose. Because what will happen is if you've got 2 or 3 girls who are excellent at makeup and you have 2 or 3 who really don't wear it at all, they will be super intimidated by this task and they'll probably won't submit an entry because they don't want to take part and they'll drift away from the group. So if you are gonna host something like this, make it one activity that everyone can take part in. It could even be baking. It could be make a cupcake within the next 4 hours. The thing about doing a group chat is that you can start it much earlier and keep it going for much longer because it doesn't require people to sit and be fully invested in it. You can start in the middle of the day and say, all right, come 8 o'clock at night, I want to see everyone's finished cupcake, give us your best shot, something like that. So give everyone some sort of tutorial that they must copy. That's a really good fun game. And if you're doing makeup, it doesn't have to be like glam makeup. You could do anything crazy. You could recommend following along with my Galaxy Unicorn tutorial. Here. Whoa. Well, looks like I'm doing that now. But that would seem particularly cruel because I don't tell you what I'm doing at any point or what I'm using. So there's not much tutoring going on in there. Number 3 isn't so much a game, but still something nice that you can do over group chat to help everyone feel like they're getting involved and encourage people to all really feel like they're taking part. And that's show us your pamper party. So again, this is one that you mentioned earlier on in the day and say, okay, I want everyone, we're gonna have a sort of really relaxing, soothing spa evening. I want everyone to set up their absolute best DIY home spa. Whatever that looks like, you can give people some tips. A really fun one is if you have a slow cooker, some face towels, or little hand towels, and some essential oil, a couple of drops of essential oil in the slow cooker with the towels and the lid on, you've got like scented, steamy, hot towels. That's an excellent tip that I would share if you're going to do this activity. Whatever else, encourage them to run a bath, light some candles, make something really, you know, pampery and spa-like for themselves, and then get everyone to take a picture of what they've done or a video, their little setup. Make sure to not do, you know, activities where people need to get up and run around or put makeup on. You have to choose things that people are going to be able to do together. So if people are wearing face masks and having a bath and doing voice note game, which are always an option, then that's when you can do the spa. Or you could do the spa right at the end of the night after you've done all the running about crazy activities. You can say, okay, we're going to wind down now. Everyone go and set up your DIY spa and send us the pictures. That's another way to do it. That is your sort of rundown of how to do it and some advice basically. I was going to go on and talk about some top tips and some other little bits and pieces, but this video is already way too long, so I've decided to make that a part 2. So if you want to find out more information about little extras and ways that you could just elevate it a little bit more, or some top tips overall and some little hints and things that will help you out, please go and check out that video, which I will link to in the description box below. I hope that this has been useful for you. Happy henning, and I hope to be out there celebrating with you all in the real world soon. Okay, love you, bye!